is the Costume and Talk Show. My name is Faiza Bajaber, and we are glad you're watching us from wherever you are. Thank you for being there. You are watching this program. We are shooting it from Travelers Beach Hotel. They have special offers for you and your family. Don't miss out. Be there. Just check on their rates on the social media. It's all over there. Today in our program, I believe we are going to discuss about mental illness, mental health. Sincerely speaking, this mental illness and mental health, I believe there are two issues here. There are two subjects. But I would like to ask our guest today to tell us the difference between these two things. Myself, I was actually confused also on the same, because I could not actually figure out what is mental illness, what is mental health, and also depression. I can't figure out actually what all these are all about. But thanks to God, we have actually as a specialist, somebody who can actually take us through this, who will be able actually to tell us more about mental illness, because she's practiced it. She has actually met so many people who have gone down with these issues. Welcome once again, and we'll be back shortly. Welcome, Wafiyyah.
Thank you.
Yes, we are happy. I'm glad actually you're joining us today. It's a pleasure, having you here, since this issue of mental illness has really actually, I can say that it has attacked many people, and especially during this period of Corona. But tell us, to start with, tell us who you are, what are you doing, and why you did this, why you went for this particular,
Okay. My name is Wafiyyah Hamid. I'm a clinical psychologist. And the reason I chose to do psychology is because I was very interested in human behavior. I wanted to find out, why do we behave the way we do? Why do I behave the way I do? So that was why I got into psychology.
Yeah, maybe could something maybe have triggered you to have gone for this study?
Initially my interest was law. I really wanted to do law. But then I came across, particularly my cousin was studying medicine, and then she did a part of psychology and she told me about it. And I searched more. I wanted to know, what is she talking about? And when I read what psychology is about understanding the human mind and human behavior, I loved it, and I decided this is what I'm going to go for. So that was what triggered me to go for psychology.
Oh, okay. Now tell us, sincerely speaking, me being one of them, I was in darkness. Maybe I came to know or to understand these how do I call them? These studies, as in psychologist and psychiatrist. Are this one thing, or it is actually two different things? Because actually I believe some of our viewers may not know the difference between these two things, because all along I used to be confused to call somebody maybe a psychologist and maybe he or she is a psychiatrist. How can you actually explain to us, maybe in detail, not in actually a very detailed thing, but maybe short, in short terms, which even our viewer will be able to understand it?
Okay, psychiatrists and psychologists both deal with mental health, but the main difference, psychiatrists have a medical background. They do medicine and then they specialize in psychiatry. Psychologists don't have a medical background. I don't have a medical background. I did my bachelor's in psychology, and then I went and did my master's in clinical psychology. So psychiatrists can prescribe medication. Psychologists don't prescribe medication. For us, it is assessments, talk therapy. That's what we deal with, but we do not prescribe medication. Psychiatrists and psychologists work hand in hand, because when you're dealing with a mental illness, sometimes you need medication as well as talk therapy. So we work hand in hand with psychiatrists to combat mental health.
And how long have you done this?
I graduated in 2012 from my bachelor's, and I got into volunteering. I did my internships. I can say that is when I got into the field. I went back for my master's in 2013, and part of my study was theory as well as doing practicum. So I worked in a number of places in Nairobi, And then I came back to Mombasa, and so I can say that I've been in the field since 2012, but I can say that officially my first job, I started working in 2018. 2018 was when I had my first job. And yeah, basically that's how long I've been.
Okay. Now let me ask you, it's personal, that when you were choosing this particular study, yes, were you looking at it as a passion, that you wanted to do it for passion, or you wanted to do it for money, for income and all that?
For me, it was a passion. I did not look at it from the side of money. I don't know if that was very smart of me or not, but it was a passion. The money comes later, but for me, it was the interest. I wanted to find out. I actually didn't know about how marketable it is. To be honest, until now, psychology is not very well known. It's now starting. Now you hear people acknowledging mental health. So it's now coming into play. But by then, in 2008, when I was going for my studies, it was quite an unknown field. Even when I graduated from my bachelor's and I would apply and say that I'm a psychologist, I would be asked, and what's that? So for me, it was a passion.
Okay. And how did your parents take it?
My parents were happy. My parents have always supported me. They were worried because they looked ahead of me, and they told me, okay, you want to do this, but it's not something that is very well known.
That is what I wanted, actually. That is the point I wanted you to tell us, because you know, like our parents, you know, they always actually want, you know, like we study, especially when you go to the university, they know that maybe after you are done with your studies, you're going to work, you're going to earn. Yes. Sometimes we get actually parents, okay, they are not, you know, they don't understand what all, okay, the journey we go through. Yes. And then, you know, like some parents actually like get, you know, like heartbroken that somebody, okay, my daughter or my child is doing this, maybe how will she make it? I've seen it actually with one of actually a friend. I remember one time he came to me to, you know, to tell me, I was curious, and I asked him, what is your daughter doing? And he was telling me that, oh, I don't even know what she's doing. You know, and I was like, how? Then he came back to tell me, oh, I know what she's doing, but I don't even understand what it's all about. You know, then I figured it out and say that as parents, you know, or maybe other parents, you know, they are not enlightened to what the children are doing. So that is the reason I asked you, how did your parents actually take it?
My parents were very supportive. My parents have always been very supportive. They were worried, but I guess I'm lucky to have such parents because they never stopped me. They understood what psychology is about. They did know that it is not it's not very common. The market isn't that good, but they didn't stop me. They supported me throughout, and they still support me.
You have mentioned mental health. Yeah?
She make it
Can you maybe tell us? I've seen it actually with one of
what is the difference
between mental health and mental illness?
Okay. So these two terms are normally used interchangeably. People confuse between the two. I agree with you.
Me being one of them, by the way. Yeah? Yes, sorry to say that.
Yeah, it's okay. So mental health is about how we are doing. It's about our emotional well-being, our psychological well-being, and our social well-being. So to you, Faiza, how are you feeling right now? Do you feel that you are achieving your life's purpose? Do you feel like you're living at your best potential? Do you feel like you belong in a community? So I can say that mental health is on a continuum. On the one end, you have somebody who feels like they are achieving their life's purpose, living at their best potential. Then on the extreme end, you have now the presence of a mental disorder. Somebody maybe who's struggling with depression or anxiety or bipolar. So now that is when we talk about a mental illness. It's the presence of a mental health disorder.
Okay. Let me actually say this, and the viewer can attest to this. I think this mental illness is coming now. You know, like we are hearing mental illness. But there before, I don't know whether you are, okay, like you are still young, but I can actually say this, maybe like 20 years ago or 30 years ago, there was no this mental illness. You could just hear depression, you know, maybe somebody has gone crazy. You know, that is what mtu ameshikwa na wazimu. Ama huyu amepitiwa na mashetani. You know, like ile amepitiwa na upepo mbaya. You get me? Because that is what has always been common to us. But we've never had this mental illness. I don't know whether these terms are advancing or what. What can you tell us?
Mental illnesses have always been there, but I can say that people didn't understand that these are mental illnesses. You see, like what you've said, huyu ako na mashetani, ni marohani, ni kurogwa. This is what it was, that was what was being said. There are still quite a number of people who believe in that. I can say that we are very well versed when it comes to physical illnesses. We know about malaria, we know about diabetes. These have always been there. I don't know, maybe back then they also had another name, I don't know. But mental illnesses have always been there. It's just that I can say people did not know or were not aware that this si kurogwa, this is a mental illness. Until today I hear somebody saying, mimi nimerogwa, sina morali.
Very common, by the way. Yes,
but
very common. Very common.
Yeah.
Yes. And let's say, for example, if you get a patient who is undergoing that mental illness, I believe you have come across many. Maybe you can tell us one story. Somebody has come, somebody you've actually, either treated or talked to, who has that mental illness. Maybe you can tell us a small story of somebody you've come across.
Okay. Well, okay, I can tell you how it goes, although our sessions are very confidential. I can't share a particular case that this and this is what happened, but I can tell you generally.
Okay, let me rephrase it. By rephrasing, I just want you, let's say, for example, you have this patient. You know very well that this patient has a breakdown of that mental illness. And somebody there, maybe the relatives are saying that amepitiwa na upepo mbaya. Now you are trying to convince them that hakuna upepo mbaya, hakuna kurogwa, hakuna nini. Sasa you are trying now to explain to them how that breakdown has come, along. Yes.
The first step is always to educate them, sit them down, sit the family down, and I've faced a lot of those. But tell them, you know what, this is not mambo ya kurogwa. And by the time when people believe in kurogwa, by the time they're coming to us, the mental health practitioners, they have gone through the other side.
Yes.
So
the traditional.
The traditional
yes.
side. So by the time they're coming to us and I ask them, if he ni kurogwa, how comes you've passed through those and the problem is still there? It would have been sorted. The fact that it hasn't been sorted should tell you something. So we sit down with them and explain to them that this is a mental illness. Mental illnesses are there. And then they're prescribed medication, and a lot of times you will see that the medication starts working. So you tell them, okay, the medication is working. So if this is kurogwa, would it have worked? You have to challenge them. Sometimes they are more accepting. Sometimes you'd find they are very, very rigid and they do not want to understand. Even when you've explained, they will still go back there. It's a challenge.
I know it is a challenge because it has happened to us actually. I remember that one time it happened. Like I think we went through as a family, my family. I remember there was a time my aunt, one of my aunts actually, went through the same. And finally, my mom was pushing it now towards that amepitiwa na upepo mbaya and all that. But I could understand my mom, the position, she was in at that time. One, she was actually confused. Two, that traditional, whatever, that it's in her, that yes, kuna mashetani, kuna upepo mbaya, sijui nini, and all that. But then I remember I told her this could not be actually like those who were upepo mbaya. Why can't we maybe go to a psychiatrist, And she was like, no, it can't happen, Faiza. We have to do this. And I said, it's okay. Wakampeleka kwa mwalimu. Mwalimu akamsomea the first day, the second day, because it was about for 3 days, for the third day. But it didn't happen. You get me? Kusomewa ni ile Quran, unasomewa Quran, you know how it is with us. Aya kasomewa Quran for 3 days, but it didn't work. But imagine when she was actually taken to a psychiatrist, my aunt actually was okay. And I said, look at it, that maybe most of us, most of our relatives and our people, get into worse situations because of our traditional whatever. But if we could actually seek medical attention, things actually work out. Yeah? Which I believe you've been actually going through the same. Yeah?
Yeah, I don't reject, we do not deny that these do exist. We don't deny that.
Yes.
But but it's not that everything that happens is based on that. I mean, we do know that Quran is good, it's healing, but there is a place where you draw the line, like now what you said, okay, you've tried, it's not working, try the other side. Because we don't deny that those don't exist. We don't deny that. But there is the other side to it as well.
Okay. Anyway, tell us about mental health, because actually this is something, I mean, it has affected many people, especially this time of Corona season. You know, these cases have become too much. Everyone you hear mental illness, you wonder, is it because there is no money? Is it because we have been actually now living together as a family? Because there before, you know, like everybody was living out, maybe the kids are going to school, the husband is going to work, the wife is going to work, you know, you could only actually like meet in the evening. I don't know, this is what I'm saying. Could it be actually the cause, what I'm saying, or what is the cause of that mental illness now at this time of the Corona season?
Part of it, you're right, part of it is what you've said, because life has changed. People are going to work, like you said, people are going to school, and now that is no longer there. With Corona, there's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of uncertainty. There's this new disease, there's this new illness that is still being tried to be understood. We don't know how long it will take, we don't know if it will ever go away, we have to live with it or not. So there's a lot of anxiety, there's a rise in anxiety. Because anxiety is all about you're worried, there's uncertainty, and this is what we have seen. There's also a rise in depression because now the economy has gone down. People don't have money. So many people have lost their jobs. They still have families to support. They still have to support themselves. So it's not easy. I can say that Corona has definitely, there is an increase in anxiety and depression. Apart from what you've said, a change in lifestyle, there is no money. People are struggling. There's a lot of uncertainty at the moment.
But Wafiyyah, let me say this. Even before Corona, there used to be this mental illness. Because I remember meeting you somewhere in one of the congregations, I believe Hijabi Nation, and you were talking about mental illness. Yes, that time there was no Corona. Yes, and why were you talking about it at that time? Because
mental illness, like I told you, it's always been there. We've always had mental illness. It's just that now with Corona, there is a rise because of what is happening around. There is higher cases of anxiety. You know, before there was a report that was released by WHO, I think it was 2019, I don't remember the year very well, but they were saying that 1 in every 4 people will suffer from a mental illness. And that was then. So you can imagine now, with what is happening now, that I'm sure if they do the report again, the numbers would go higher. I don't know if it would be 1 in every 2 people or 1 in every 3 people. 1 in every 4 people in itself is quite a high number.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, let me ask you another thing, which I know actually the viewer would want to know also, that how do you know that somebody, you know, has the signs, has started actually breaking down with the mental illness? How? What are the signs?
Okay. You know, we have many mental illnesses. There are different kinds. We have mood disorders. There are psychotic disorders. By psychotic disorders, I mean psychosis is somebody who's, we can say, out of touch with reality, like the thoughts and the behaviors are different. So one of the ways that you would know, one of the ways that somebody would know, sometimes you might find that when you're going through it, when somebody's going through it, they might not realize it instantly. But it's very important for the ones around them. They start noticing the behaviors, they're starting to be different. They used to wake up in the morning, be motivated, go to work. Suddenly, they're withdrawing. You don't see them as much. They used to be a social person, go for social events. You don't see this friend you used to see anymore. What is happening? Or you notice that suddenly they're very irritable. They're very something small and they're very triggered. So you notice the differences, there are changes in thoughts, changes in behaviors, changes in moods. If somebody can notice for themselves, that is really good. But a lot of times you would see that it takes the ones around them to notice that, by the way, something has changed in this person.
And how do we help in this one? Just in case maybe, you never know, it, like the way I told you about my aunt, you get me? But let's say if it happens, what is the first aid you can give maybe to your relative or whoever is close to you?
The first thing, one of the biggest challenges I've seen that makes people not want to reach out for help is stigma. So the first thing that you can do to support somebody else is don't stigmatize them. Don't tell them that they are going through what they're going through because God is punishing them, they've done some errors in life. The minute you do that, you are making somebody feel, you're making it worse, making them feel guilty, making them ashamed. So support them and tell them, you know what, you're going through something, let's reach out, help is there. Reach out. If it's your doctor, your psychiatrist, you have a psychologist, reach out. Help is there, but do not stigmatize them. That is one of the biggest challenges we have, where people do not want to reach out and say, by the way, I'm really suffering. I'm not doing okay. I'm struggling to get up and go to work. I'm struggling to get up and go to school, because they're being made to feel like as if they are a failure because they're going through that, and that's not true. Just the same way anybody can say diabetes, somebody can get depression. It doesn't mean if somebody gets diabetes they've not failed in any way. That's a condition that has come, that is an illness. The same thing, somebody gets depression doesn't mean they failed in any way. It happens.
Yeah. True what you're saying. But then another thing I want to say, apart from that I believe that depression is also actually coming down into the same group of mental illness. It's become actually too much. I think even myself at some point I felt, like depressed. There were some things I was doing and they were not going right. But because I could actually do this project, it's not picking up. I could do that project, it's not actually starting off. I did another one which didn't even take off. You get me? And at some point I felt, like heartbroken. I felt like it was the end to me. But imagine, I didn't show it to anybody, but I picked myself up. Yeah, I picked myself up. And thanks to God, I managed. So I believe that even you can do it yourself. Yes, instead of actually somebody else doing it for you, you can do it yourself. It is just a matter of accepting it. Yeah, and we need to tell the people that they can do it themselves. They cannot actually you have to be helped, especially by the psychiatrist. You have to be helped by maybe volunteers and all that. You can do it yourself, don't you think? I did it actually. Some
people can, I agree, some people can do it themselves. There are some people who are more resilient than others. I can say you're a very resilient person. For you were okay, you could pick up. Some people can, some people can't. So for those who can, the people who maybe they have the family support, or there are other factors in the environment that could help them, or even within themselves. They have something within. Sometimes spirituality also helps to pick somebody back up. But for some people it becomes harder. It's harder for some than it is for others. So for such people, for the ones who can, well and good. For the ones who can't, there is no shame in reaching out to ask for help. There is no shame in reaching out to ask for professional help, because it's there.
So if somebody wants, let's say for you guys, do you have maybe like a group? Let me tell you, some of us, we don't have actually like that the strength as in to go and seek for this medical attention. Do you actually have a group where you help, you assist people, at no cost, that is it there?
Okay, so they
volunteer in a way that you guys are volunteered.
Okay, so there are some, I can tell you there are some organizations that have. There are a few organizations that have given, they say, we are doing this for the community. Yes. That is there. They are still coming up. They are not so many at the moment. For us, because at the end, this is also a career. This is also, remember that this is something I've studied. I've spent 6 years studying, okay? And we do assess the situation and see that this person, if somebody comes to you and they really need help but they can't afford it, you can't turn them away. You can't say, you can't pay, just end up. Somebody is maybe suicidal, they're very depressed, and you tell them, you give me money or else there's no treatment. No. If somebody can afford it, that is a different story, but you don't turn away somebody just because they can't afford it. Organizations are there, and I'm hoping more organizations will come up to say, okay, we want to support mental, because there's a crisis of mental health. And we can't, I mean, this is not something I can do on my own or we can do on our own. When we get supported by organizations, it does become easier for us. So sometimes we do want to help, but also on our end, it does become a challenge. Yeah.
And how do you actually, like, let's say you're doing this, do you get finance from somewhere? Do people support you? Like, let me put it this way. Maybe you have like a camp where you decided today we want to do this. Do you really get support from people?
There have been a few camps, but I haven't been in the camps, I can say that, because of one challenge or another. I think, like I said, with the mental psychology is still coming up. So sometimes you'd have you've seen the camps where the doctors go and offer services.
Yes, those are the camps. The health camps.
The health camps. So these camps, they are trying. I can say that they are trying to bring in the aspect of mental health, because I have attended one or two, but it's still something that is coming up slowly. And I'm hoping that with time, it will grow, because as they are handling the health side, the medical health side, they will also look into the mental health side.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah. Now, just tell the viewer now what you've been through, the challenges you've been through on this journey of actually helping people with the mental illness.
One of the biggest challenges is stigma. Mental health is stigmatized. Sometimes even as a mental health practitioner, you are stigmatized. If people could understand that mental illnesses are illnesses like any other, that would make such a difference. So I can say that the biggest challenge has been stigma. I wish people could be more educated about mental illnesses, mental health. I think that would make a very big difference. I hope it would make a very big difference.
Let us pray it will. But another thing I wanted to ask you, let's say, like, for example, you've been to a mental illness, you know, somebody who has been actually like struck by that mental illness. Are they actually like wild? Are they, or they are calm? How do you approach them?
Somebody who is going through a mental illness at the moment?
Because you know what, I feel with a mental illness, you find that there are people actually who are wild. You know, it's just like wazimu. Sometimes some people, it goes to the extreme, you know, and you feel like maybe your head wants to burst and you can do anything. And what if you come across such a person? Have you ever come across such a person?
A lot of times. You know, I used to work at Portree's mental health, so I used to come across, that was my daily routine. There are people like that where it's now reached, maybe they've not received help until it's reached the extreme. Such people, you don't start with talk therapy. Such people, first of all, need to be stabilized. They need to be, they're given medication for them to calm down, to stabilize them, until they reach a point where now, okay, we can discuss, so what happened? What is happening that you got to where you got to, and how can we ensure that you don't get back to that place? But those are there.
You've never come across somebody, you know, maybe attacking you. So, because let me tell you another story. I have a lot actually to say. I remember I had a cousin of mine. Our family is actually a very complicated family. I have a cousin who also actually had a problem, you know, mental illness and all that. So we took him actually to Portree's. And when we went to Portree's, now there was this young lady like you, a Muslim actually lady. I don't know what he was doing. He was just following that daktari everywhere she goes. And we were like, oh my goodness, you stop it. Oh, you're going actually to be jailed. But he could not even actually stop. Every time, he's just, you know, wherever that lady goes, he's there. Now that kind of challenge, you know, even that lady, that young girl actually was scared at some point. Has it happened to you?
Yes, it has. In fact,
and how do you handle it?
First of all, you need to remain calm. I know it's not easy. It's easier said than done.
It's scary.
Yeah.
For me, I can even run away. I swear. Some professions anyway.
That happened to me. I got to work one day, and the patient there was, I don't know, she decided to pick me for, I don't know if maybe it's the same person. She decided to pick me and
mine is actually a he.
Oh, it's a
my
he.
cousin
Okay.
brother. Yes.
Okay, for me it was a lady, a
Yeah.
lady patient who decided that, I don't know why she picked me and decided she wants to attack me. So as I got there, she's calling me and she's telling me, you just get here and you'll see. But I didn't know she's talking to me. And when I got there, the next thing I know, she's raised a slap and she wants to slap me.
What?
But you see, for me, I understand that's a sickness. I understand it's not personal. And I acted in time. I moved away and then I kept moving back. She didn't get me. Her family held her. But that's something that people who work in mental hospitals face every other day. But when you understand that this is a sickness and there are measures in place, because there is the askari there who, when they see such a patient, they are held or they are kept somewhere. I can't say that people haven't been attacked. When I used to work there, some people did get attacked.
Seriously?
Somebody got a slap or got a stool
Oh my
thrown
goodness.
on them. But I've never seen it being very serious damage. Now I'm speaking from the little experience I had working in a mental hospital. Maybe others have experienced more, but that was my experience. Also, I felt that for the patients, there is a certain level, even though when they're having that illness, that's what I felt. When they see that, you have to wear the white coat. So they see that they have that level of respect. This is a doctor. I cannot, there's certain limits I think they don't try to cross, because they're like, no, this one is helping me. This one is daktari wangu. So there's a certain limit. That's what I felt. Although, like I said, one day I almost got slapped. It happens.
It happens.
Yeah.
It's scary. It's scary. Anyway, and are you planning, let's say like, I believe that you have actually many other psychologists, psychiatrists like you. Have you thought of actually forming up like a group, and you say that we are forming this group, we want to help the people because this thing is actually becoming now out of hand. Have you sat down and thought of it?
We are
to help the
thinking of
community?
it. Yes, we are thinking of it. We are still trying to come up with a few plans, I can say, maybe things that are still in the work. We are definitely trying to help the community in any way that we can. We don't have any setup as such yet. I can say that is still something in the works.
But how long do you think it might take you? Because if you say that you have that group and you don't know when it's going to set up, and by the time maybe it actually takes off the ground, maybe we will have as a community that we will have so much damage, Yes, it has an impact. Yeah, it has an impact, but how soon do you think you can do it?
Okay, I can tell you that Corona did set us a bit backwards, the whole Corona issue. So right now, because of the whole uncertainty, it's been a bit of a challenge. I'm not sure, maybe let me not give a timeline because there have been challenges, but I'm hoping that it's soon.
And how is the government taking this issue of mental illness? Maybe you can tell us a little bit. Our government, yes, is the like vile wanachukulia zile mambo mengine kama majanga. This is also another janga, la mental illness, because you can see that many people are going through, tough times, and it is actually, breaking down, so many, people. Yes. Has the government, maybe you've been there, you've been interacting with other people of your caliber. Yes, maybe you can tell us, government, what is the government doing, their input towards this mental illness?
I think they are trying to some extent, because I did see, especially like with the Corona that started, they took on some people to help to do telecounseling. They made a section particularly for that. I have a friend, she used to be my colleague, and she told me that they were doing something. The government has been doing something with them. And there's also, every other day I do see these job postings of government hiring psychologists. There's a job posting of psychologists, counselors. So I think to some extent they are trying to do something. I think they've noticed that there is. I don't know if it's enough. I don't know if they're doing enough, but I do know they are doing something to some extent.
To help the people.
To help the people.
Yes. Okay. What advice can you give us on mental illness?
I can say that I'll repeat this over and over. Don't
Stigma.
stigmatize.
Stigma.
I will
Can you hear?
repeat it.
It is stigma. Don't stigmatize a person who is undergoing the mental illness.
Don't stigmatize yourself, don't stigmatize
The
another
other
person.
Okay.
Support them as much as you can. Be
Yeah.
your sister's or your brother's keeper. If you notice that your friend or your colleague is different from what they used to be aware. Ask them, what is happening? Can I help you? Is there any way I can help you? You know, sometimes just to know somebody has noticed or somebody cares makes a difference.
It's true.
So be your brother's keeper, be your sister's keeper, and allow people to speak out without stigmatizing.
Okay.
My favorite word, do not stigmatize.
Do not stigmatize. Just tell the viewer that they should not stigmatize person, especially a person who is undergoing through this mental illness. Because this also kills, because somebody might commit suicide, isn't it? Yes. So just tell the viewer.
Viewers, thank you for listening to us. Please do not stigmatize. If you know anybody that is going through any mental health issue, if you notice that they're going through something, be supportive, be your brother's or your sister's keeper. Avoid stigmatizing. They're not going through what they're going through because God is punishing them or they're a bad person in life. These put people off. You are breaking people off by saying such things. Do not stigmatize mental health and mental illnesses.
We have come to the end of the program, and I just want to say this. Our programs are not only to empower women, but they are also to educate everybody, especially for those who are undergoing through tough times. Please just be watching our videos. They will give you at least something, you know, to help you out. Like the way today we've had a very helpful discussion with Wafiyyah, Hamid, who has actually, you know, taken us through the mental illness. Personally, I didn't even actually know some of the things actually are happening. I didn't even know the difference between a psychologist and a psychiatrist. Today I have known. I believe you have also actually learned today. I didn't know the mental health issue and the mental illness. I thought, you know, sometimes I used to mix it up, you know, but today at least I could tell this is mental illness, and I believe that many of us are breaking down because of mental illness, because of one reason and another one. There is no money, there are no jobs, there is no this, there is no that. With a relative, maybe you just cross on one another and you just burst out. But I believe with today's program, you have learned a lot, and keep on actually watching our videos. Follow us on YouTube, and please subscribe to our YouTube, and looking forward to seeing you again next time. I'm all yours, Faiza Bajaber. Stay safe and stay blessed.
Like